Now, thousands of soldiers from across the East Midlands fought in the war in Afghanistan. Well, the Mercian Regiment's 2nd Battalion saw some of the British Army's toughest frontline action there. Jeremy Ball has been following them for a decade, from their homes up to the front line, to see how it changed their lives.
This is the Mercian Regiment, the largest recruiter of frontline soldiers across the Midlands.
Friend isn't a strong enough word to describe the relationship that we have. I think we are absolute brothers.
They're being welcomed back to their base after their recent tour of Afghanistan. The 2nd Battalion were in the thick of some of the Army's bloodiest fighting since World War II.
It only takes a split second for things to change out there. You know, you've got to run out in the open while you're getting shot at.
They won more battle honours than almost any other British Army battalion, but they've paid a high price.
If I don't laugh and joke about my injuries, I'm going to sit down and cry, and most will never stop.
I've been out to Afghanistan 5 times to report on the mission there. A mission that went from winning hearts and minds in the country's bombed-out capital, Kabul, to some of the fiercest fighting against the Taliban down in Helmand province. I wanted to ask some of those soldiers I've met along the way about the sacrifices they've made and how war has changed them. Kyle Smith is from Nottingham. He joined the army in 2005 when he just turned 17. I first met him when he was training to go to Afghanistan. 5 years later, Kyle was awarded the Conspicuous Gallantry Cross, one of Britain's top battle honours, for running into heavy gunfire to save 2 wounded comrades.
You see your mate getting shot, you've got rounds whizzing past, you can hear the crack and thumps going above your head, and you know they're close, but you just got to keep moving. How was I not another statistic? How was I not injured? Or
how are you still alive?
Exactly, and the only thing I can put that down to is I'm really short. That's the only thing.
The Mercians had to face countless dangers in Afghanistan. I first saw Aaron back home in Derby. He was giving evidence at his friend's inquest. They'd both been blown up by a roadside bomb in 2007. The blast shattered Aaron's leg and killed drummer Thomas Wright.
I knew Tom for some years, so that hit me hard. When it happened, I was shouting, screaming, crying, bawling, trying to fight my way out of it. It's hard to see what future you've got at that point when you can see metalwork sticking out of your legs.
Me again.
Today, Aaron's future's with his wife, Callan, and their son, Bobby, both reminders of the friend they lost. The couple met at Tom's funeral.
The reason we got together was because of Tom, and there's not a day that don't go by that Tom's never in our thoughts.
Life has moved on for Aaron and his family, but the explosion in Afghanistan changed everything.
It was December 2008 I had the amputation. It's what's called an elective amputation. The way I dealt with it is I had a goodbye left leg barter. It just ended up me being very drunk and saying goodbye to me left leg.
It's still tough, and keeping a dark military sense of humour helps.
So just literally take the leg off, fill it up with whatever you want to drink, and away you go.
So you can use the baton gunner, get him forward, or just shout baton gunner, and then rapid advance.
Mike Brigham from Birmingham is one of the Army's youngest company commanders at 34. He first went to Afghanistan with the Mercians 10 years ago. The Taliban nicknamed him the Special Infidel.
Partly my skin colour, my heritage, the ability to communicate with the Afghan National Army, I think it must have made a mark with them.
While Mike worked as a mentor with the Afghan National Army, fighting with them side by side, I'd been invited to see how that worked in the field with a unit nearby.
What's the 8 to the front? Hold your ears, hold your ears.
Skirmishes like this one on our patrol were routine for the Mercians, but there's one that stands out for Mike. It led to the toughest battlefield decision he's ever had to make.
The soldier was really young, 18 years old, and he just snapped. It was too much for him.
The young soldier dropped his weapon and ran off towards the enemy.
The enemy were firing in an apex to keep us away from him. But I knew that if he got you know, close enough they would capture him and they would undoubtedly kill him.
But capture would also risk sensitive information falling into enemy hands. It left Mike with an impossible decision.
So I told my platoon sergeant that if he got within 200 metres of the junction that he was to fire at Johnson to stop him. It was definitely the hardest decision I've ever made in my life.
Thankfully, that shot was never fired. One of Mike's men got to the young soldier first.
The patrol commander from there actually dived off the top of his vehicle and rugby tackled our lad to the ground, undoubtedly saving his life.
Let's say that muscle fibers pinging. That is the music.
There's no doubting the closeness of this band of brothers. Kyle's brought some of the Mercians to an old friend's gym in Derby. Matt fought side by side with Kyle on one of the Mercians' most horrific nights.
We was extremely outnumbered and we didn't know how many Taliban there was going to be. But we basically practically got hammered and people were going down left, right and centre. So I thought, I'm dying tonight.
Two of their friends did die that night, Sergeant Craig Brailsford and Private Johan Botha.
I remember seeing both on the floor and he was still in the firing position. So he died actually firing, do you know what I'm saying? And putting his body on the actual wagon and seeing one of my best mates dead in front of me. That's reality, that was.
That's when it hit me hard. You know, that was the last time I was going to see him. And that was quite hard to take for an 18-year-old.
For Matt, it was the last straw. He left the army the next day, but the trauma stayed with him.
I felt really suicidal, but I knew that I was never going to try and end my life. Do you know what I'm saying? But I wasn't far from actually going through with it.
Support from family and close friends has helped Matt and many like him to heal and start again. For the Mercians, a new chapter awaits. For now, it's away from Afghanistan. At their current base in Cyprus, this is riot training, Mercian style. Their role is changing. There's less political will for British troops to fight overseas these days, but the Mercians are here in Cyprus on standby for rapid deployment, and in such an unpredictable, dangerous world, who knows where that'll take them next.
That was lovely though, wasn't it? It just shows like the lovely day, and you just look like you're so much in love and relaxed.
While they wait, soldiers like Mike can catch up with family and reflect. Afghanistan has changed, and it's also changed them.
I think I value life more for going to Afghanistan than what I ever would have because of seeing and taking of lives. So honey, we're going to actually have to say goodbye, but these two will just keep talking forever. So I'm going to say goodbye and I love you lots.
Bye, Dan, love you lots.
Afghanistan, it's changed me dramatically. I think love's a bit taboo in the armed forces. You know, it's not something that a big masculine organisation talks about. It's really important, and it's about loving the job that you're doing, loving the people that you are doing that job for, i.e. our nation, but also loving the enemy that you're fighting as well.
Kyle's last mission in Afghanistan a year ago couldn't have been more different from his first. I was keen to hear his thoughts on Kabul as it is now.
Seeing the massive improvements, seeing local nationals being able to move back in, to see them having schools and hospitals, that's a massive achievement in my eyes.
This time the Mercians were protecting international advisors. They left without firing a single shot, but the country still faces an uncertain future.
Should we have any sort of
I've met lots of soldiers during my assignments to Afghanistan, and it's clear this bloody conflict has shaped all of their lives.
There's freedom. Can you put 400 and plus lives on it? I personally couldn't. But I'm not a politician, I'm just a soldier. I do my job where I'm told to go.
It changed me quite a lot because I kind of went into Afghanistan as a boy, but then I came back as a man. You could tell that we'd aged. It's nearly 2 years that I've spent out there. So it's kind of like my second home, as weird as it sounds. So it will always have a place in my heart, really.